Olive oil is made from olives, and there are about 1,300 different olive types in the world. Which one should we plant in our new olive grow? Hi, welcome back to Olive Oil Drops, a podcast created by Marco Antonucci for all of you who want to know everything or almost everything about olive oil and olives. I'm Milena. As discussed in podcast 3, olive varieties are referred to as cultivars. In Italy, there are about 700 cultivars, and out of these, 538 are currently cultivated and used for oil production. This accounts for approximately 42% of the world's olive genetic heritage. A cultivar, short for cultivated variety, is a plant obtained through genetic improvement either through seeds, stem cutting, or grafting. In the plant world, a cultivar is akin to what a breed is in the animal world, representing a species obtained through domestication and selection. This is analogous to the concept of grape varieties in the wine world. A cultivar is identified as a specific genotype that has been artificially isolated, with its characteristics established and consistently reproducible through seed propagation for at least 3 to 4 generations. In the classification of living things, a cultivar essentially represents the subspecies of the olive tree, a term used here to refer to organisms of the same species with minor differences that do not warrant categorization as completely different species. The word cultivar, a shortened form of cultivated variety, is closely related to the Latin words varietas culta and has been internationally recognized for approximately 60 years. There are nomenclature conventions defined and regulated by the International Code of Nomenclature for Cultivated Plants. The implementation of these regulations is carried out by either European community bodies or individual government bodies. In olive cultivation, the terms variety and cultivar are often used interchangeably. While this may not significantly impact the understanding in the olive sector, it is technically inaccurate. The term variety should be exclusively used for a particular genetic type that grows and reproduces spontaneously within a botanical species without human intervention, constituting wild species. It is customary to assert that the set of cultivars of any agricultural species is identical to a botanical variety. However, this assertion is not entirely accurate, is not widely accepted in the scientific community. Now, let's delve into various cultivars, beginning with those in Italy. As I mentioned, there are 538 cultivars representing approximately 42% of the world's olive heritage. These numbers may seem impressive at first glance, but a deeper exploration of the subject reveals that Italian olive cultivation relies heavily on just 50 cultivars, which account for 90% of production. Among these, 24 cultivars contribute to 60% of the total output. Furthermore, it is important to consider instances of synonymy. For example, the Frantoio olive, a commonly grown variety, is also known by other names such as Laurino, Fina, Pendaglio, Oliva Lunga, Comune, Correggiolo, and Pignatello. Additionally, there are cases of homonymy like Oliarola and Rocciola, toponymy with varieties like Nocellara de Belice, Bella di Cerignola, or Moraiolo de Monti Martani, and morphonymy as seen in the names Pendolino, Limona, and Biancolilla. This is a general estimate, and there are numerous minor varieties that have not been adequately identified. This lack of clarity arises from the fact that over 2/3 of the genetic heritage contains contaminated genes, often influenced by viruses, leading to deviations in morphological characteristics. Unambiguously describing and defining this genetic heritage is challenging, even with complex DNA analysis. This is because data obtained from different laboratories are not easily comparable, and DNA analysis alone cannot independently resolve all identification issues. Given the varietal uncertainty, the question arises: how do you choose a cultivar to complement an existing olive grow or create a new one? In podcast 9, I provided around 10 fundamental guidelines for selecting cultivars. I won't delve into these details now, but I suggest referring to the aforementioned podcast for more in-depth discussion. It is worth noting that while I always need to consider the planting location, the type of planting I need to work with, and the target market, I also have a wide variety of options available to meet my requirements and work within the constraints placed upon me. In fact, similar to other areas of fruit cultivation and viticulture, olive growing offers a choice between international, national, local, and once abandoned varieties. It is important to remember that most varieties are self-sterile, which means that although their pollen is viable and germinable, it cannot fertilize the flower it comes from or that of plants belonging to the same cultivar. In such cases, we refer to self-incompatibility. When making a selection, it is crucial to consider that we will require cross-pollinators that flower simultaneously with the plants we want to fertilize. Additionally, olive pollination is anemophilous, meaning it relies on the wind to carry pollen. So a significant quantity of flowers and pollen is needed to ensure an adequate fruit set. International cultivars. When I refer to international cultivars, I mean those capable of producing olives and yielding oil with consistent characteristics in geographically diverse areas. To simplify, here are a few examples that can be considered international: Arbechinia, Coratina, Coroneiki, Frantoio, Arbosana, Leccino, Manzanilla, FS17, Barnea, Kalamata, Picholin, Mission, and Picual. The latter, Picual, stands out as the queen of internationality, accounting for a third of the world's total oil production. National cultivars. When I speak of national cultivars, I'm referring to those that can be found in various Italian regions, characterized by fairly consistent organoleptic and production traits. These are naturally of Italian origin and include varieties such as Leccio del Corno, Pendolino, Maurino, Coratina, Moraiolo, Itrana, and, notably, Frantoio and Leccino, which are the most prevalent cultivars in nurseries. Then there are local cultivars. I mean those specific to more or less delimited areas, often representing the entire regional production. Italy boasts hundreds of such cultivars, including Ravece, Nocellara del Belice, Peranzana, Casaliva, Grignano, Ascolana, Dritta, and Bossana, to name just a few synonymous with regional production. These lesser-known cultivars constitute Italy's genuine olive-growing heritage. However, they face identification challenges as they frequently lack distinct, unambiguous characterizations of defining varietal organoleptic nodes. This, while promoting biodiversity and resulting in diverse flavors, may hinder immediate and natural associations with the cultivar or place of production. And then there are also once abandoned cultivars. It should come as no surprise that in agriculture, natural selection was traditionally performed by farmers who selected the most productive, longest-lived, and hardest plants. Today, selection is driven by the market, which primarily focuses on plants with profitable attributes. Many cultivars were abandoned in the past precisely because they were not very vigorous, had large olives but low oil yields, or were challenging to harvest. Some were not very cold resistant, and others were particularly susceptible to pests and disease. Cultivars such as Pomera, Fogna, Rossola, Sprele, Gargnat, and Sbresa are experiencing a resurgence thanks to the efforts of small, determined producers and associations like Slow Food who recognize the environmental and economic potential inherent in these forgotten varieties. Some of these cultivars have returned to production with excellent results, even suitable for mechanical harvesting or reduced row plantings. This wide and diverse range of choices allows individuals in any situation to find what best suits their needs. It is essential to note that the varieties put into production and declared in sales documents or on labels must be accurately reflected in the farm records. It is not permissible to omit indicating the cultivar names on the farm records, and any updates should be made before the oil is sold. This obligation only ceases when the specific cultivars are unknown. Failure to comply with these requirements may lead to charges of abuse to the detriment of consumers and distortion of competition, with potential fines that could reach as high as 5 million euros. Even this may seem absurd. If you wish to ask us questions, you can do so either by email oliveoildrops@gmail.com, website www.oliveoildrops.com, where you can also find the text of this podcast, or comment space of the podcast platform you have been using and to which you can subscribe free of charge. Thank you for tuning in today.